Yo, 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 yo. Hello. Hello, everybody. What's up? What's up? How's everybody doing today? I have so much stuff to edit, so figured I'd throw a little live stream in there so y'all can watch me work. Feel free to throw any questions you might have about either what I'm doing or just honestly anything, like my process, photography stuff, Fuji stuff, just whatever. Throw them questions in there. And for now, I'm going through a wedding. Going to try and get through this fairly quickly, so you're gonna see me doing my what I like to call speed editing. Just quick accurate edits and a lot of copying settings from one picture to another picture. So hang out for the show. Also, I haven't fully done it yet, but my presets should be about ready sometime soon. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to package it all together because I don't want it to be like just janky delivered stuff. Like, I'm not doing it just to get the money, you know what I mean? I want them to be great presets that people can use and actually enjoy using. So once I do this whole section, you see everything is like nearly matching. At this point, I'll just go back through each photo to see how everything is looking. And just make sure I like where it's at. How many weddings have you shot in the past month? Also, what's up, Tyler? I want to say, actually, you know what? Let me be accurate. Let's be accurate. Let me look at my calendar. Let me pull up the good old calendar. So last month, I shot 1, 2, 3, 4 weddings last month and 2 engagement sessions. So that's a pretty solid month, not too busy. This month I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weddings. And that's pretty typical. I think once you get up to like 7 weddings in a month, that starts getting pretty rough. It's like physically pretty taxing. But yeah, so far every month I've been doing about between 4 and 7 weddings. So I don't really have any breaks in there either. It's just straight up like every weekend back to back. I was possibly gonna have a break this weekend, but I'm gonna be second shooting because I do a fair amount of that as well if I have a free weekend. I had a second shooter on this wedding who's shooting Canon. I have not edited Canon files in a while, so we'll see how that goes. This is already edited, so let's just take its settings and see what it looks like across the board. What's your timeline for getting finished photos to your clients to deliver them? So I usually quote 4 to 8 weeks, and then I try and get it done within 3 to 6. It's kind of like the timeline I've set for myself. But I do try and get it done quickly, which when you have a lot of weddings can be a task. Yo, stats. I'm gonna just call you stats. Stats, whoa. I can't even status, whoa. What up, stats? Welcome to the stream. We're getting through here, power editing. Trying to get this nice, fast, and accurate. Ready for delivery. Status quo, yeah. I finally got it. I get it, not the status quo, but the status whoa. I like it, I like it. So yeah, I've gotten my presets to a point now where like, if I got the exposure really good and I got the white balance pretty good, I pretty much just throw that thing on there and that's it. Like, I really don't have to do much more. I can paste it here too, because these should also have about the same lighting as well. Don't need 2 of those. Maybe warm it up just a tiny bit. So I typically don't take shots kind of like these, where it's just like random mess everywhere. I'll do it sometimes depending on just like what's going on, but I usually like to try and stylize my photos a little bit more. Rather than it just being like picture taking, because that's kind of, as a photographer, like a professional photographer, that's what you should be doing. Not just anybody can just take pictures of stuff that's happening. That's what everyone does basically, you know what I mean? So you have to kind of set yourself apart a little bit and try and either capture moments or stylize your photos rather than just click whatever's happening. How do you feel about the new iPad OS 13? I am hype. I am so excited. If y'all have been checking out my videos, you know recently I made one about the Bridge keyboard. So between that keyboard making your iPad feel basically, oh, thanks for that sub, Kareem. But basically with the Bridge keyboard making it feel like a straight up laptop, and then you add iOS 13 to that, which also does have mouse support, but the one thing no one talks about is the mouse support is actually it's an accessibility thing. So it's really not mouse support. So a lot of people, oh, mouse support, but it's more accessibility. It's for people who, you know, can't use the iPad in a normal fashion because of a disability or something. But it may open up the door for some stuff. Like Lightroom might be kind of cool. Being able to use a mouse on the iPad, so we'll see what happens. I want to do the beta. I tend to do betas, but I don't want to break my iPad, so I'm just gonna leave the beta alone this time. Maybe next time I'll do a beta so I can get some early info out on it. Yeah, iOS 13 is gonna be hype. I think that's my finger. This was like the most direct sunlight ever, and there was nothing that could be done about it. That's just what it was. Oh, what happened to the song? I was over here jamming out. Hey, Kareem, what's up, man? Thanks for that sub. How you doing today? Me, I'm doing awesome. Is he making a stank face? Group photos are always like the worst. I gotta... Let's go back and see if we can find another one. Where are they? There we go. He doesn't look like he's smiling, probably because he's squinting with the sun. Yeah, there's like not a good photo. That's like, in my opinion too, one of the harder parts about wedding days is that, you know, no one really understands light. So they'll just be like, let's shoot a picture here, or like, I would like to have a picture here. And it's hard sometimes trying to tell them and be like, no, that's not gonna work for various reasons. Or I typically have a wedding day where everyone's always like, oh, the wedding or the weather's so perfect, everything's so perfect, and it's like 100% clear skies, and I'm like, actually no, the weather's kind of rough. Actually, I wish I had some clouds, you know, like. So it's little things like that. You have to really make a rapport with your couple so that they kind of understand that at the end of the day, you're kind of like the end all be all as far as photos, and that no one should be really telling you like, hey, take this exact shot exactly here. It's like, sometimes that stuff's gonna look bad, you know what I mean? And they have to be cool with listening to you to let them know that like, yeah, it's not gonna look good. I'm sorry. I have some weddings booked this summer, but I was your tip to get more events. What's your tip to get more events? There's a lot of different things. It's not as straightforward as you think it would be. First off, what it really comes down to, and if y'all don't know about Hustle and Flow, that workshop, definitely check it out, because that's where I learned a lot of this stuff myself. But it comes down to you being the best photographer that you can be. Because yet again, what you need to think about is your photography and your services are a product. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing with like, I don't know, if you go to Walmart trying to buy a shirt or something and it sucks, but then you go to like the mall, and I don't know what a popular mall store is because I don't go to the mall like that anymore, but you know what I mean? You go to a mall store that has better quality shirts, and what are you going to buy? And obviously it starts coming into the difference of price. So you can say, well, Walmart has cheap shirts, but yeah, cheap shirts suck and they fall apart way quicker than this nicer shirt that costs more at the mall. And that's kind of the same thing with your photography and booking weddings. You need to make sure all of your stuff is legit and looking right first and foremost before trying to get more or complaining that you're like not booking any weddings or anything. You know, like if your product sucks, like no one's gonna buy it, or you're gonna get Walmart customers, you know what I mean? So it's really a lot of that. Like, what are you presenting? What are you giving? And then once you have a really nice product and a great presentation, so like a website, an online presence, Instagram, Pinterest, all that stuff, you're looking legit. You got a nice logo made. You got nice business cards. All your stuff looks good. Now you're gonna look more legit, and you're gonna look like a quality product. And then after that, you can start doing stuff like advertising on the Knot, advertising on Facebook, advertising on Instagram, and you'll actually get people. Because I think that's the biggest thing, the biggest misconception that a lot of people get into is that they'll try out something like the Knot, and then they'll be like, oh, it's a waste of money because I didn't book anything. The ROI was horrible. But if you didn't have all your stuff 100% together, like if you didn't have your business looking right, your photos looking right, your logo looking right, everything looking like a quality product, people aren't going to book that. So it's not that the Knot sucks. It's that what you're presenting as a product sucks, and you need to make it better. So there's a lot of parts to booking more, but that's the baseline foundation, is make sure that your stuff is looking good, make sure your photos look good, make sure they're consistent, and then make sure that overall your product looks good. And from there, you can start going into where should I advertise, or how should I advertise, or how should I voice myself, and all that stuff. So I hope that makes sense to your question. I know it's like a larger kind of roundabout answer. This is getting ready, bride. So if y'all have ever seen me work before, you know I like to break down the sections of the day. By doing this, I'm able to edit a small lump sum of photos from the wedding. So rather than looking at this and saying, oh my goodness, I have 1,000 photos to edit, I'll break each section into its own thing and then go, okay, cool. I only have 100 photos to edit. While y'all were sitting with me on the stream, which I've only been streaming for 20 minutes, I just finished these 63 photos real quick. So that's one section. And mentally wise, that works out because it gives you the small wins. So you get your little dopamine in there with your small wins. And it also gives you places where you can stop and feel like you still accomplished something, rather than just going through photos and maybe jumping around in different sections of the day and just be like, oh, it's so much. So, you know, I can finish a section or two and then be like, cool, I finished 2 or 3 sections today, and feel accomplished, rather than feeling defeated by thousands of photos. Man, I hate when Lightroom doesn't actually straighten stuff, because it doesn't want to get the outside areas. So it'll be like, I did it, I really did it, and you're like, Lightroom, no. See, look at that. Affinity photo on iPad versus desktop Photoshop. Is Affinity good enough? So, you know, that's actually a harder question for me to answer, mainly because I don't use Photoshop very often. I'm more of a Lightroom guy overall. So I haven't even had a chance to really try Affinity, because I would really have no use for it. As of right now, the only thing I use Photoshop for is stuff like this stupidness. Because why? Why can Lightroom not do that? Do I have to clone it? Like, look at that. Really? That doesn't even make sense. I think it's a bug. So for stuff like that, actually, I'll show y'all. This is the only thing I ever use Photoshop for. So let me just copy these settings real quick and paste them across the board. And then edit in Photoshop. And then, you know, Photoshop has that, what's that feature called? Content aware fill. That's literally the only thing I use Photoshop for. That and making GIFs. I just like, Lightroom does enough for me that I haven't had a chance to jump into Affinity. And then I don't do like portrait session editing, or like studio fashion editing, as I guess you could call it. So where you're like going in and like cleaning up the skin 100% type of thing. Content aware fill. Bloop. Really? Really, Lightroom? Was that so hard for you? For social media, do you try and post ASAP after a wedding? Yes, I usually do try and get it pretty quickly. So what I'll do is throw up a preview within the next like 2 to 3 days, if not sooner. A lot of times, if you've been following my Instagram, you'll see I'll do the Instagram stories, and I'll do a lot of back of camera previews, because Fujifilm looks that good out of camera, so I can just straight up take a picture of the back of my camera, and it's like good enough as like a check out how great this wedding looked. But yeah, and then after that, what I'll do is I'll keep posting throughout the week. Just like photos from the wedding and stuff. I might just leave that thing there this time. You know what we'll do? We'll black and white this one. And then you won't really notice it as much. I can also crop in a little bit. But yeah, I'm usually quick to the draw with the social media. And I've been getting a lot of inquiries recently off of Instagram. And I think it's mainly because I just keep up with stuff. You know, you do stories and things and post things from weddings. And also, you know, seeming busy always helps too. So like consistently posting stuff, maybe posting some old stuff. Let's crop in on this. But yeah, like Lightroom does well enough with like healing and stuff, so I just don't find myself using Photoshop at all. So on that same end, I just don't use it on the iPad either. Like I could be extra and get rid of this whole thing and really bad at posting, plus I don't shoot a crap ton. Yeah, I found, because this year is my first year having like 40 weddings, and it's a lot easier to post. And I also don't post a lot, so one thing I see people doing is they'll do those, you know how you can post now, you can post like 3 or 4 photos at the same time. I actually don't do that, because if you're one-off curating your work to try and show your best work at all times, but then also like the day after the wedding you post like 4 or 5 photos in 4 or 5 photos in one Instagram post, I feel like you just wasted like mad weeks of posts you could have done because you posted all the photos in one little thing. Like, actually, I've fallen behind, so I have a lot of stuff that I probably could post right now. Take this, copy that. Also, what's helped me is what's helped me too is using Planoly, because then I can just load all my stuff in there and then just plan out a week or 2. I think I've shown Planoly before, but it's like, it's totally worth the $9.99 a month. And I barely use it. It's just worth being able to schedule out your post and then have it automatically post for you, because then you just don't have to do anything. Yeah, so these are all the posts I've done in the past. You can see everything you have scheduled out. And what's nice about it too is that if you don't have an easy way to get the photos onto your phone from your computer, you can just load them into the Whip app and then it's like there. Yeah, I think I talked about it a bit on YouTube. I need to do more videos on it because it's literally the best. So like, I can come in here and say, drop that post in here. I can plop in all my information about it. So I can type in my whole thing, because I don't like social media like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not on it like that. I'm just not. It's too much. You know, it's too much. So being able to sit here in front of the computer real quick and do all this stuff here. So now I've been trying to get better about tagging all the vendors I worked with. Have I not posted anything from this wedding? Oh, dang. You see, that's what I'm saying. I'm like behind, so I have mad stuff that I can do. Can I find you on mywed.com? No. I don't think I'm on there. I'm actually not familiar with that website. Dang, I can't remember the vendors I worked with on this wedding. And I'm surprised I haven't even posted any photos from it. You can save your hashtags. So I can come down here and make hashtag sets for certain things and just bloop, pop them in there. So I don't have to sit there on my phone like hashtag this, hashtag that, hashtag. I can't stand it. I cannot stand it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm in that age group who, like, I didn't have social media until I was in college. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't grow up with the stuff. I don't like doing it. And then usually I just add a couple more. What else do I want in here? That's fine. Automatically post, set the time. I like to get my posts out in the morning. So like 8:15 is cool. Tag the location, the Carolina Inn. I can tag people, so I can tag the Carolina Inn. And I can't remember who else I worked with, which is the worst. Yeah, I'm 24 and it bothers me. I know, it's like, I don't know all these people who like do it all the time. Boom, save it, and that's it. It'll post by itself, and I don't have to worry about it. So what I'll do some days, on my admin days, is that I'll come in here and plan out like 2 to 3 weeks of stuff, and just bloop 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 bloop, post once a day, every day, plan it out, put it in there, and then forget about it. That way I don't have to sit around being like, yay, Instagram, because I can't stand it. Did I paste? Develop this app. Copy settings. Paste settings. Cool. Awesome. And then I go through this whole group. Yeah, I cannot begin to tell you how much worth that Planoly is. Like, really. You save so much time. Not having to break your phone out like every 2 seconds just to post on Instagram. And then also what that helps me do is that I can focus on stories rather than focusing on posts and stories, because that's just a lot. So what is this MyWed? So I'm on some other sites. I don't know if MyWed is I don't know if it's for me. Let's see. MyWed. I'm a bride looking for a photographer. I'm a photographer looking for brides. Get inspired. Join the community. I never even heard about this. Best wedding photos. I think I've seen this somewhere. Top rated, recently updated, favorites. They do hourly rates? I don't know. $155 an hour. Yeah, nah. I guess the $285 is okay. I feel like my hourly rate would be mad high, like $300, $400. I think it's actually $350. Yeah, somewhere it's really high. My hourly is like $400 or something. Yeah, I'd be up here with this guy. Is this website free? MyWed Pro. Discount on photo albums. Huh, maybe I'll look into it. We'll see. We'll see what it's all about. Lightroom, my dude. You can't straighten these photos. So, little Lightroom trick. I don't know if y'all know. You can click on one of these options, and that'll set what your modifier keys will do. So, see plus and minus now will do my exposure. So I can just hit plus and minus on my keyboard to change the exposure rather than having to come up here. So it's a way to speed up your edits a bit. Do you remember how it was like shooting your first wedding? I do. I don't know. I was kind of crazy, so I wasn't really stressed. I actually don't get stressed very easily. Like, it takes a lot to stress me out, and I mean like the world coming to an end type of stress. But usually I'm pretty good. I can show y'all my first wedding, I think. If I remember. Let me see if I can find a little blog post for my first ever wedding that I keep hidden deep down in the depths of my website. Look at that photo change. Look at this stuff versus when I switched over to Fuji and had a new editing style. It's like so different. My old stuff was like, look how bright and just, I was using Maston Labs too, so I was using Capture One for a few months now. I'm using Lightroom with Fuji. You know what? So one thing I've been kind of noticing is that I think Fuji displays the photos wonky, but it doesn't export them wonky. Because the whole worm thing, I've never seen that in export, and I've never seen anyone talk about it in export. They just assume because it's there that it happens in the photos the whole time, I guess. I haven't really dug in and looked into it though. Here's my first wedding ever. So this was a couple I got from Thumbtack. If y'all haven't checked out my video about Thumbtack, definitely look through my videos and check it out. It was pretty cheap, but I wasn't there for long. They technically only wanted me for like 4 hours to handle some of the reception stuff. But because I was on my grind, I showed up early. When I showed up early, the planner had no idea who the photographer was. So she was like, "Oh, awesome. Are you gonna go over there for the ceremony?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I thought I couldn't because it was in Central Park." And the couple was saying that when they booked that area of Central Park, it came with a photographer. So I was like, I thought I couldn't go. And I was like, whatever. Since she told me where it is, I'm gonna go now. So I went over there with them. So this was the start of the day. Went over there with them. And, you know, I'm all geared out. I have my hold fast double strap. I got my 2 cameras. I got my extra bag on the back. I'm ready for the grind. I'm like, I'm gonna do this wedding. I don't even care if it's 2 seconds. I'm gonna do this with my full heart. And then the photographer shows up, who I guess is hired by like Central Park or something. And he's just this like old guy, no offense to anybody, who looked like he didn't care at all. So he sees me, this young guy, hungry for work with 2 cameras, and he was like, well, damn, I'm just gonna go home then. So I ended up getting to shoot the ceremony too, which they didn't pay me for, but yet again, it was my first wedding and I didn't care. So this is the stuff I got. I was shooting with the 6D at this point. And it was very low key. They just kind of stood in Central Park and did their thing. We got married. We did a couple portraits. Got some fun stuff like this. This Dutch tilt though, I don't tilt like that anymore. That's so much tilt. What's up, Silver? Thanks for the love of the channel. Glad you're loving the channel. Can you share presets for Lightroom for free? Sorry, man. I'm not gonna share them for free. But I do promise I'm not gonna charge a whole lot of money. It's probably gonna be like 25 bucks or something. Here's a Dutch tilt again. I don't tilt like that anymore. But yeah, like for my first wedding, this was fairly solid. Like looking back at it, it actually isn't like totally 100% cringeworthy, which is pretty good. Cause you know, like when you go back and look at old work and you're like, oh no, what was I doing? So yeah, like it's not too bad. There's stuff in here. Like this shot works. I like this a lot, but I tend to not tilt like that anymore. So I was thinking maybe I'll go back and look at some of my old work and maybe pick up some, like this Dutch tilt. Bleh. Maybe pick up some old school ways that I used to shoot to kind of open up my repertoire a little bit. But yeah, nice little short wedding. Look at that, I didn't even put it in time. What a horrible blog post. But yeah, that was my first wedding. Do I use Exposure 4? Yes, I do, but I only use it for export. I use it for sharpening and grain, and that is it. And maybe some fake tilt shift. I feel the same way whenever I look back at my old photos. Yep. What is your approach on follow-ups? So follow-ups are a fun time. And I'm assuming you're talking about like when a couple gets in touch with you and you're trying to book them and you want to follow up with them. Usually I just hit them up a couple of times. So I'll hit them up at first. I like to follow up as quickly as possible. So we're talking like 15 minutes, if not quicker than that. So I'm like on it directly with my couples. Then after that, I'll give them a little bit of time. Maybe like a day or two. And then if I haven't heard from them, I hit them back again. I'm just like, hey, checking in, seeing how things are going, seeing if you're still interested. And then if I'm still not hearing from them, I pretty much just let them go. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and waste my time trying to like win every couple that comes my way. You know, if y'all aren't trying to book me or you're not that serious, then that's fine. So I usually send them the email that's just kind of like, hey, I haven't heard from you, so I'm guessing you're not about this life, so I'm gonna move on to other things. And one or two things either happen. Either the couple was just like busy, so then they get back to you and they're like, oh no, please don't leave, sorry, we took too long. Or you just don't hear from them and it's like, okay, whatever. So that's usually that's kind of my early booking process as far as follow-ups are concerned. What do you think about editing on the iPad Pro? I love it. If you caught my videos that I talked about editing on the iPad Pro, so basically the way I use it is it's a part of my workflow when I'm away from my computer. So the majority of my editing is going to be here on the computer, which is what you're seeing now. But I don't know if you noticed up here in the top corner, you see how it's syncing photos? So I have all this stuff syncing back to my iPad so that when I'm out of town, which I think I'm out of town in like 2 weeks or so, I'm going to be in New York, or technically New Jersey, for a couple of weddings. So while I'm up there for that, then I can edit on my iPad still. And now I don't have to go buy a laptop, which is nice. So then with this 11-inch iPad, I can keep things like really small, really simple. Try and get these lines straight. That reminds me, I just pretty much booked a client for a wedding film. I sent over the contract and they said fantastic, and it's been 5 days since. Should I hit? Yeah, I would definitely hit them up again at this point. I'm usually between like 2 and 3 days. If I haven't heard from you, I'm probably gonna get in touch with you again. Cause also too, you don't want to lose the couple just because you never got in touch with them, cause that happens too. I've had weeks where I just get too busy and I forget that I had someone that we were talking, and then I look up and I'm like, dang, I haven't talked to them in like a week. Hit them up again and they're like, oh yeah, we booked someone else. I'm just like, dang. So yeah, 5 days is definitely like, that's too long. That's kind of on the long end. Okay, these two photos are the same, but that other one is better, so let's get rid of that. And then we're gonna take this one into Photoshop. Thoughts on new iPad OS, the new file management? I'm extremely excited about iOS 13. The new file management and actually being able to use hard drives is a big deal. I can see the iPad becoming like kind of the future of what computers are going to be. Really Photoshop. Because every time I use my iPad now, it just like, it feels so right. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't need to do a whole bunch. So the amount that I can do is just like, it's so good. Actually FaceTime them, beautiful couple, dropped my rates because I really wanted to work with them. Sure they were reviewing this. Yeah, I always hate that period between like when you talk to the couple and when you haven't heard from them, and you're just kind of like, am I gonna book it? Am I gonna book it? And you're just like, I don't know. Let's test my Photoshop skills here, which I'm really not good, so y'all can laugh at how bad I am. That's not gonna work. The angle's all weird. That's not gonna work. And then this isn't gonna work. Photoshop's gonna have no idea what it's doing. Yep. Dang. I might have to get someone to do it for me. I'm just gonna leave it like this for now. Pros and cons to posting prices on website. I think I'm biased. I don't know what the cons are. So I'm a little biased. I think it makes more sense to post it. And mainly the reason I think it makes more sense, also, what's up, Matthew? My dude, Matthew, Patreon. The reason it makes more sense to me to post it is that you can weed out people who aren't serious. Like, you come to find after a while, when you start getting a whole bunch of business and more people hitting you up, that it's a waste of time to talk to everybody. You kind of want people who are going to be more serious. So for me, I'd rather put my prices up there rather than getting mad emails from people just being like, hey, what are your prices? And me being like, here are my prices. And then being like, dang, bro, that's mad money. And then I just waste it. Because that's what I used to do in the past. And it's just, you would get hit up by so many people. So then you just have so many emails to do. And it's just like a waste. Yeah, I don't know what the cons are, because I'm so biased to putting your prices. I think it makes more sense to put your prices on the site than to not. I'm gonna get rid of this first one. Shout out from NYC, from your favorite NC boy. Hey, Nick Tinsley. How have you been, man? OG Squarespace fam in the house. What should I say to them? It's been 5. So I mean, I would just keep it really casual, just kind of like, you know, I haven't heard from you in a couple days. Wanted to see what your thoughts were on the proposal or the contract or whatever you want to call it that I sent you. Sometimes you can throw a little incentive in there too. So one thing, I try my best to be very honest in my business. So I don't like to lie in any degree, even like the tiniest of a lie. I try not to do any like white lies or anything. So, but you can also throw in, you know, like, I'm booking up pretty quickly, so I just want to make sure you don't lose the date or anything. Which, like I said, I would not say that if it wasn't true. But, you know, just let them know what's up. Let them know how things are going and just see where they are. Ask them if they have any questions about what they're seeing or if they need any help with anything. And then you just kind of have to go from there, because at that point, the ball's in their court. Greetings from Indonesia. Wow, what's up, man? What other photography types do you do? Mainly, so portraiture stuff and just weddings. Weddings and engagement are like my bread and butter. And then every now and then I'll do some portrait type stuff, which I have not done in forever. I just met, well, I didn't meet her. I met her online. A really cool model who looks like she's still starting out a bit. So I might try and work with her, and I might shoot film, because I have a whole bunch of film that I haven't had a chance to use because I've been like scared to use it in a real session. So I want to start doing a couple of like practice sessions. Like, look, let me see if is it in here still? Look at all this film I got. And most of it's free too. I went to a workshop. I don't know if y'all know workshop spelled with no O's, but I went to workshop and I brought my film camera, and Kodak was there that year, and they were like, "Oh, word, you got a film camera?" And they were like throwing stuff at me. So I got the Superior 1600. I think I bought that stuff, but I have, what is this? This is the T-Max or Tri-X, I think. Yeah. Some good old black and white stuff. This is just Fuji Extra 800. You can buy that at CVS. That's not special. This is Portra, good old Portra 400. That beautiful Portra 400. Give me that goodness. And most of it's free. I got like mad Portra 400. I got Portra 800. I got some other random stuff in here. So yeah, it's just like a whole bag of film for days. So I need to blow through these rolls. They're probably all bad at this point. They're pretty old. They're like a couple years old at this point. Glad to see you living the dream. Focus on photography's main hobby and thinking about maybe dip my toes into paid gigs. Yeah, that's awesome, Nick. Yeah, I left New York, went to NC, quit Squarespace, and just jumped onto photography. And you know, that was kind of what I was trying to do the whole time I was at Squarespace as well. So yeah, it's working out. 2 years now. Not too shabby. Christy, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Are you constantly checking your histogram or exposure compensation to achieve correct exposure? Or put your camera on aperture priority? So aperture priority used to be my jam. It was my 100% only way I would shoot. I loved aperture priority in the past. But then it got to a point where just in certain situations, it would do weird things, and I'd be like, aperture priority, why? Like, why did you think that was a good idea? And because of that, I stopped shooting on aperture priority. So because I shoot Fujifilm, The EVF helps me with exposure, so I actually don't check the histogram at all, but I do have it up on my thing, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Let's see if I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So y'all can see it maybe in the bottom, I think that's the bottom left corner. Bottom right for y'all, I don't know. It's there. So I do have the histogram there. But a lot of times I'm really not paying attention to it. I'm just using the EVF itself showing me what it looks like. The only time that I use the histogram is when it's like the end of the night and it's starting to get dark. So I don't have the screen set to show my exposure. Look at that preset, y'all. Plop it on, turn it up. Ta-da! If you need any help with that window and the hanging dress photo, I can do it for you. Been graphic designer for 10 years now. That's my day job. Oh, nice. I might have to hit you up. Cause yeah, I probably could do it, but it would take me longer than I would want it to take. So here we go again with speed edit. So I edited this photo right here for the preview that I made for this wedding. So you copy that and just paste it. Honestly, these photos down here might work too. Paste it totally across all that stuff. Oh, you know what? Is it a TIFF? I can't tell. And then you just paste that thing. Blam. What were some of your big changes for you from booking a few weddings to full bookings? So the biggest things were kind of what I was talking about earlier, and I don't know if you caught that about how your business and your services are a product. So you have to really show, or you need to make your product really good. Okay, so hold up. I messed up. This is definitely a TIFF, right? No, it's not. Yeah, it is. So first and foremost, you really need to make your product as good as it can get. And that was probably the biggest change from booking a couple weddings. That was the first biggest change on my end, is like how I present my work in my business. So I started curating my work more. I worked on my editing style. I actually changed the look of my photos, which made a big difference as far as how my work was perceived. Because I do think that's a thing too. Like, if you want to charge higher prices, your photos kind of have to look like they're worth higher prices. You know what I mean? And yet again, that's why when I talk about getting on the knot and stuff, it's not as simple as being like, oh, the knot doesn't work. Oh, wedding wire doesn't work. Was your product looking right? Because if not, yeah, it's not going to work for you, because no one wants crap product. You know what I mean? That's kind of a universal truth. No one wants crap product. So like, how do you expect people to book you and you're presenting them crap? So that was the biggest change. Other than that, the way I ran my business changed a lot too, because obviously it's just more weddings. So you have to really be on your A game as far as responding to people, knowing what's going on with your couples, making sure all the information's like in one place, so you're not like losing stuff and just being like, oh, I had no idea this was happening because I don't have the information. Like, you can't do that when you have 30, 40 weddings of people paying you like $2,000 plus, but like, you can't. So that was the second thing. So like Honeybook and stuff is another reason why, or was a big change for me. Beforehand, I was doing everything on paper and I just literally had no idea what was going on. I'm a black and white dad. And that was just some of the changes. After that, I mean, I could go on forever. This whole speed editing I'm doing right now, like, that became more of a thing the more I had to edit. I really had to streamline kind of what I was editing and how I was editing, and so many changes. But the biggest is how you present your business. That's probably the 100% biggest change. Let's crop in a bit. Get rid of that. Hey, I just bought an XD3. You using face detection for weddings? Big change for 5D. I actually don't use face detection because what I have found, and it's probably just the way I have my face detection set, is that it will face detect everywhere. So like, let's take ceremony, right? And they just kiss and you have your recessional and everything, and everyone's like, yay, and they're walking away, and so people are standing up, and then the face detection is detecting like all the other people than your couple. And I've had that happen a couple of times. So I only use it in rare cases, more so like during portrait time, at the wedding and stuff. But I don't use it that often. But in its defense, because a lot of people buy it because they're like, oh, face detection is so great. The autofocus in general, especially the consistent autofocus, is just really good. So it's way better than it was on the XT2, and it's worth the kind of change and the upgrade. So even if you're not using the face detection, XT3 is still pretty beastie. Are you looking for an assistant in the NC area? Possibly. Luckily, someone I work with in a group of photographers, she recently moved to the area, and she's really good. And she also shoots Fuji. So most of my weddings that I need seconds on, most of those positions are pretty full because she's good. But I mean, if anyone ever wants to hang out during a wedding or something and maybe like help carry stuff or something, I'd be down to do that. Obviously, I couldn't pay for it, but like if you're really just trying to learn and see me in action, I'm totally down. Obviously, you just need to respect the area and not do anything that will piss off my couples. Because that's kind of 100. Warriors or Raptor? Man, I don't watch enough sports. But I'm gonna have to say Warriors. Just out of popularity, I guess. What kind of lights do you use? Or do you shoot natural light only? So, we've been talking about that in a lot of photography groups. I don't think there's really such a thing as natural light only. Especially for wedding photography. Like, you're lying to yourself if you're like, I'm a natural light photographer. Just be real, you know what I mean? Like, you don't know how to use flash and you're scared of it or something. That's fine. I do prefer to use natural light, so if I don't have to use flash, I won't. I don't like flash everything, but let me get my lighting set up for you. I'll show y'all what I work with. So there's a couple of things I do as far as lighting. So first up, I have this Godox V860. It has a lithium ion battery in it, which is beastie. It's way better than any just normal AA batteries. So I have these, and I use the MagSphere pretty much religiously. So I'll plop one of these on. It's magnets. It's pretty, like, you have to pull this thing off. So it stays on there. And that's usually how I'm modifying most of the time at receptions. So you take this guy, pop it on the top of your camera, and this is me most of the time right here. Anytime I need a flash, it's this setup. I just recently started doing a little bit more off-camera flash. I don't prefer the look, mainly because it creates a lot of shadows when you have this like light off on the distance, just blasting light. And I don't really like that look. I more so like this look. It gives you kind of like a nice warm feel. It lights stuff closer to you, and then you get the ambiance of the background rather than just like blasting everything with light so that it's lit up. But I do dabble in some off-camera flash. So for that, I ended up buying, first off, these Godox triggers. So they work with Fujifilm. So you grab some of these triggers. So I have 2 of these, and I can plop these on my Fujis and also put my on-camera flashes in here. And then I got the Magmod softbox thing, which is awesome. I'm not gonna take this whole thing out, but it's basically a big softbox, but it's all magnets and stuff because it's Magmod. And it uses the same magnets that you already use on a Magmod to attach that sphere on it, and you can just throw your flashes in here. So I have an extra flash, so I have 3 flashes in total, and I can either use that flash by itself with a mag sphere on it, or in here with the softbox, the mag softbox, I guess. I guess they like to call it that. I don't know what they call it. And that's basically my lighting setup. So let me get through this set of photos real quick, and I'll show you what reception looks like with that type of setup that I was just talking about. Your lighting setup sounds like a great idea for a video. Yeah. So my holdup with some of the videos, because I'm extra, I don't want to just, a lot of my videos are just talking head type of videos, and that's cool, but I want to bring some more elements to it. Oh, these are basically the same. That other one was better. So what I would really love to do is have a video where I can get someone to video me at a reception, so I can actually show you all and talk about my lighting setup, and then you can actually see me shooting it, and then I can show photos. But I just haven't been able to do that yet, because that's one of the videos I'd probably get the highest amount of requests for. Kristen, if she's still in here, she knows. That's like all she asked me about is my lighting setup. So I would love to do a video on it, but I also don't want to just be sitting in front of the camera like, hey guys, here's me sitting in front of the camera again. I want you to see it. I want y'all to really learn from watching me actually do my lighting setup. Why does Lightroom keep being like, yeah, the side of this windowsill is great? Let's see. Recently moved from Panasonic Micro Four Thirds to Sony, and eye detect is unbelievable. Yeah, the Sony stuff is like dumb. It's like so good with the eye detection. Cheers for your answer. They just added animal eye. That's crazy. Do you ever use tripods, monopods? No, I don't do a lot of video outside of the YouTube stuff, and that's mainly just sitting in front of the camera. I tried to use a gimbal once, and I sucked so hard with it. Like so hard. It was a, what's that company? Zion? The Zion Crane? Is that what it's called? I can't remember. But yeah, I want to buy a gimbal though, but I just don't do enough video. But what I would do is basically buy a gimbal so that if I wanted to have someone shoot video for me, they can use my setup, and then we'll just have it like that. Did I already have a photo like this? Yeah. Yeah, the Zion crane. And I was so bad at it. I was like, what am I doing? I thought I had it balanced and it looked pretty good, but it kept jerking around all weird. Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing. All right, so let me show y'all some reception stuff real quick. Oh, did I finish this whole section? Yeet. Oh no, I still have shots from my second. So, yet again, since I make sections of the wedding day, yeah, it was the crane too that I had. And you know, I'm not blaming it on the crane. I had no idea what I was doing. So that was me. That was user error. Okay, so that's intros. First dances, and then so when the first dance is done, I'm guessing. Doesn't he dance with his mom and stuff? Oh yeah, they're separated. Cool. So I'll just call this stuff reception. Let's grab some more reception stuff, and then I'll show y'all what that lighting. I mean, you're already kind of seeing what that lighting looks like because at this point I'm using flash, but I really want to drive the point home. Here we go, more reception. We have cake cut. All right, so let's actually look at this real quick. So this was lit the exact way I was just showing y'all earlier. So on camera flash with the mag sphere on top. You see, I do like to bump my ISO up a little bit. So I'm at ISO 800 and you see that's not that bad as far as grain. These are only smart previews. You see embedded smart preview, or actually if I go to develop, it'll look better. So, you know, it's a little grainy. It's not that bad. I don't mind it. My photos have some grain in them, so it's okay. So bump my ISO up a little bit. And then usually my flash is around like 1/32 power wise, or yeah, 164 or 1/32, just depending on what lens I'm using and how close I am to them. And this is the look I'm getting. So this is flash. It keeps everything nice and soft. And then you also don't get shadows all over the place, because I don't like that look of having shadows because you're blasting light so hard to light up the room like as hard as you can. And I mean, yeah, like it looks fine, you know. I'm not over here struggling. Yeah, the flash is pointed upward. So, do I still have it? Yeah, I always leave it like this, just like straight up, because the mag sphere is gonna shoot the light out in all directions. Also, at this venue, what helped is that it had a low ceiling. So the ceiling wasn't that high. It actually was almost even lower than it is in my place here. And it was white. So not only was the mag sphere throwing the light everywhere, so in front and everywhere, but the stuff that's going up, which is the most powerful, because even like this, the front of the flash is still going to push it out through this more. So having it like this, not only do I have flash coming out this way, like as a dome, but the stuff that's going up, which is the most powerful, is hitting the ceiling as well and also doming. So you're almost getting like double of the reflection. You're getting the stuff here and you're getting the stuff from the top, from the ceiling as well. You can kind of notice that. That's why it's so soft overall, because it's just like hitting everywhere out, but then coming up. And also Rough Prophet, what up? You here we go again, talking about editing sections. Copy the cake cut. This was all in the exact same scenery. Wait, oh yeah, they didn't eat the cake. So yeah, copy it, paste it, and this whole section is done. There's like 14 pictures, like boom. If anything, we'll up the tint a bit. It looks kind of green. So the same for the reception photos. Let me make sure I got all the reception photos. So we had the cake cut, and then after the cake cut, we have more reception. So yeah, for this stuff too, same thing. I have the flash on my camera. I'm shooting with the Fujifilm 14, so I'm really close to these people. Usually for reception time, I don't like that whole like using a long lens and standing outside of the dance floor. And I usually get out there, I dance with my couples, I dance with, you know, everybody at the wedding, and I'm like up in there with them. So, and you can kind of see like they see me and they react to me and stuff. So, but this is the same lighting setup, and it's darker now at this point. I'm still at ISO 800. My shutter speed is like 160. My flash power is probably 1/32. Do they tell you that stuff? Flash did not fire. False. There definitely was flash on that. But yeah. And you know, I get this look. And what I usually like to do with the way that I edit is that, so for these more darker, like straight up dancing photos, I'll throw my preset on it. I pull my shadows back to give it that like height party feel. And then I exposure up, which this is gonna be too much for the rest of the photos. And this is so yellow. I think I can actually, that's probably good right there. Yeah, and there you go. Like that's the finished edit right there. And then since most of that stuff is the same, copy it, paste it, and like I said again, that first photo was super dark, so it's gonna be too bright on the rest of these. But hopefully, I hope that helped y'all out with the lighting setup. I definitely do want to make a full-blown video on it, because that's one of the biggest questions. And I do different. Sometimes I do the whole light painting thing. It depends on the couple and just the overall vibe of the wedding. So this wedding was a little bit more straightforward, as I would say. So I just went with a more simple lighting. But you know, like this gives you a good look. You can see everything. There's no like wonky shadows all over the place. Everyone's like lit up. I don't have to have off-camera flash, so I usually don't even need to bring a stand and all that stuff with me. Paste my settings again. And then I just go through the photos and most of my reception is done. Let's see how these are looking. But yeah, so this is on camera flash. So I always wonder sometimes why off camera flash has become this thing that like people use it as a gauge to see how serious of a photographer you are, but I don't know, like if you can light your photos and they look good, I mean, now learning to use off-camera flash and be able to use it as well and not just say like, oh, I only shoot natural light and like shy away from it. I do understand that. You should definitely know how to use the stuff. But I also don't think it's like, you know, like the end all be all, like, oh, you're not a photographer if you can't do off-camera flash. There's just different types of photography for different times too, you know what I mean? So like if you're in a studio, you kind of need to know off-camera flash. You need to know how your flashes work. At a wedding, it's half and half. Like, I'm good with this look. Because at the end of the day, the couple just wants nice photos. They don't really care how you do it. So what do you feel like is the biggest concern / problem that couples have when looking for booking a wedding photographer? That is a great question. I think it varies, and I haven't totally nailed exactly what it is. But first and foremost, it depends on the couple. Some couples care more about the photos. Some couples care more about like the day of and the vibes and what they're going to be overall. I think also one of the biggest concerns is just that you're professional and you're going to show up. I think that's one of the like biggest concerns. And I feel like sometimes I have answered that question not well enough for my couples, and I lose them for that very fact. So it's really just that you're going to provide what they want to see, that you're gonna show up to the wedding, even if you're like dying, there's like a backup plan, rather than it being like, oh, sorry, I'm dying, so you have no wedding photos now. And I think price is kind of the bottom of the barrel, because a lot of photographers think that price is like the main thing that couples are thinking about, but I don't think that's true. Because even in my case, I raised my prices a little bit ago, and I was like a little worried about it. Not too much, just a little. I was like, oh, these prices are pretty high, especially my top package. And then pretty much immediately after raising my prices, I have a couple find me on Instagram and book me for my top package. This is after I raised the prices too, thinking that like it might be too much. So I don't think price is what most couples are worried about. It's how do you perform? How do you deliver your photos? How am I getting the photos? Are you going to show up? Is there a backup plan if you can't show up? Those are the things I think that stand out most for couples. At least what I've noticed from meeting people over the last 5 years, or more so I would say 3, because the last 3 years is when I really like honed in on how I was meeting with my couples and stuff, and what I was talking to them about. Actually, yeah, you can tell in the photos how low the ceiling is. Like, it really is like right there. I know it's way more about the couple than your portfolio, but do you ever feel not fulfilled creatively wise after seeing all the photos from a wedding? It's half and half. I haven't had a hard time with that. I've gotten to a place now where the weddings are more about the couples themselves and kind of like their overall vibe. So the only time I really feel unfulfilled from a wedding is from the vibe itself, or if I wasn't able to do things that I wanted to. Like, I had a wedding recently with like the most gorgeous couple, and they were so awesome and fun, and it was a cool venue, but it was like downpour raining the whole day. Like, it was totally raining. Like, they had to put up a tent for their ceremony. We couldn't really go outside at all. And that day got me. Like, I felt pretty horrible. One off because like I wish I could have gotten better stuff, and I know I could have gotten better stuff, and yeah, so that stuff just got to me. But other than that, like, I don't know. For wedding photography, it's like this thin line between creativity, but then also doing your service. And the biggest thing is finding couples who understand that and want your creativity. So if you find those couples, it makes it in this realm where you're doing the side that they want, which is just like straight up service, but then also they're trusting you and they like your creativity, so they'll let you do that stuff, and they won't like ask questions or be like, let's do these exact type of photos. Like, they'll actually say, hey John, what do you want to do for this? We trust your opinion as far as photos are concerned. So this was my second shooter. Yep, and I got my preset that works on all cameras. And then I'll just hit it with that auto. Yep. I hate the fact, for some reason, the XT3 and Lightroom don't mix. Like, it can't auto white balance like I did this and actually get it right. It always like does weird stuff. Yeah, that works. So yeah, like I pretty much always feel fulfilled after a wedding. Oh, that chromatic aberration though. That's the 5D3? That's horrible. Actually, I'm not even gonna use this. Cause even like, this was a pretty standard wedding. But because I stage stuff, so like this stuff, this feels creative enough for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I get stuff like that. Even this stuff here, it's not just like me randomly taking photos because something's happening. Like, I put her here because I wanted it, so I get to be creative in that sense. Then, like, if you look at the whole day, you know, he's getting ready, it's just normal stuff, but then you get shots like this, you know, like that's super creative. So I do get to get my nice, fun, creative stuff in there, and that's what that's what the couples book me for. And you know, it's a ceremony. You shoot the ceremony, straightforward, and you kind of know that that's not going to be creative, and you're not going to get much from it. Same with the family photos, but then you get them for a couple portraits, and then you get to get a little bit more creative. You get to find spots that you feel like work better. So yeah, it kind of comes along with the territory, I guess. That's why, like, if you find yourself doing weddings and after every wedding you feel like you didn't get a chance to shoot what and how you want it to, it's either the couples you're working with or the approach you're taking to your couples and how you're telling them about your services, which are leading to you not being able to do what you want to. Because at the end of the day, you're still gonna be shooting a wedding. You know what I mean? Like, it's still shooting a wedding. There's still gonna just be a lot of normal wedding stuff. And you should be fine with that and get your creativity in where you can. Just wondering, I'm still super new. I've only shot 2 so far. Cause yeah, it'll get to a point where like you just feel like you're shooting the same thing over and over and over. So if you don't find the right couples and really work in your creativity, like, yeah, it's gonna get to a point where you're just like which lens you use for those groomsmen? That was the Fuji 14-8. So that was one thing. My second, he was asking for feedback, and that's kind of the main thing for his shots, is that he just kind of shot what was happening. There was no staging at all, and I do like things to be natural and to have a natural feel to them, but I also want to have control over stuff. And then that's where I get to be creative. Also, flat lays are kind of like my favorite. That's another getting creativity kind of out. All right, so I finished that. I finished the cake cut. Finished the groom. May as well finish the rest of the reception. Yeah, I'm thinking about making a video on flat lays. I think it's gonna be about making a flat lay without anything. Because a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll bring like a box of stuff, and so they'll have all this extra stuff that they can put in with the flat lay rather than it just being whatever. But my flat lays are just me communicating with my couple onto like what kind of stuff to bring, and then finding what else I can find like around the house or the hotel room or whatever. So that's what I think I'll make my video on, is how to do flat lays when you have nothing, basically. I'm just gonna get rid of those photos. Cause yeah, it's crazy sometimes. Like, the flat lays where you have stuff are nice. Like, I'm not gonna front like they're not nice. But pulling together a dope flat lay when you had nothing with you is always the best feeling. It's just always like, haha, look how I made that, and I didn't even have like a flat lay kit. Video on culling images. I taught an online class on culling because I have a very specific approach and mentality to how I cull. I also do go kind of fast though, so you may have noticed while going through these photos, like sometimes I cull a lot out. But I'd rather make the culling process fast than sit around and nitpick photos. So I'd rather cull too much and then go back and just be like, hey, that's too much. And cull stuff out. I also like to give my couples a lot of like emotion and stuff. So that's one big thing, is that, you know, as a photographer, you know, we have what are good photos and stuff, but then you also have just like, you know, photos. Like, give the people some photos. And those are the ones that the couples are actually gonna like more. The photos where you're like, this sucks, and they're like, this is my favorite photo from the whole thing. And you're like, really? How? So I try not to think about it too much as like a technically perfect photo. I use Photo Mechanic. Yep. Photo Mechanic is the only way. I used to not use it, and then I looked back at my life and said, what was I doing? What was I doing with myself? Okay, let's create some more of these sections, since I basically finished all the ones I just did. So this will be the ceremony. Down to here. I usually do 4-star the photos quick, then I 5-star those to get the best shots. That's kind of my approach. I just 5-star everything, and then if I ended up 5-starring like too many of the same type of things, I just call those out. Adobe Bridge, it's okay, but I can definitely understand using something. Yeah. This would be group portraits. This would be details. Oh wait, let me not get ahead of myself. Details. This would be couple portraits. More group portraits. And then I'll also throw the rest of this into details. Bro, seriously? Okay, this is group. Oops. Group portraits. More group portraits. Details. Oops. Hey, D Nice, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Couple portraits. More details. Then I'll call this intro and dances. Saw your video on Honeybook and wanted to check out your channel. Awesome. Did your workflow change substantially when you switched from Canon to Fuji? Not totally. I think the only reason my workflow changed was because I was like learning more. So I was like growing as a photographer, so that changed my workflow. But Fuji itself didn't really change anything about the importing and the editing itself. Intros and dances. Because I feel like every time you do a wedding season, you like level up so much. Like I was showing earlier some of my older stuff and it looks so different than my stuff now. Because it's just like every wedding season, such a change. This would be speeches. That's cool, D Nice, that you caught my Honeybook stuff. There's another one coming out tomorrow. No, wait. What is today? Wednesday? There's another one coming out on Friday. But yeah, I usually do photography stuff here. I need to make more Honeybook videos. And yeah, we just talk about technology, photography, and creative entrepreneur stuffs and things. This will be part of intros and dances. Oh, hot tip. If your couple's down with it, always make sure to ask them if they want to go out sometime during the reception and get a couple photos before the night's over. It just makes like a nice amount of photos. Awesome. I think that's it for the sections. Yep, cake cut and then reception. So I'm actually getting close to being done. So you see I have all these nice blue hour photos, and then I also have the stuff from earlier in the day. So you know, you get a nice variety of photos when you're able to ask them later on in the day, like, hey, do y'all want to go out again for like 5-10 minutes, real quick. Thanks for the info. Your videos of photography has inspired me. Oh, awesome. I'm glad I could be inspiration to somebody. Let's see, how many formal photos do you usually provide? I find that I overshoot a lot during my formal shots. Are you talking about like just the family photos and stuff like that? Kind of like the straightforward family shots. Just bride and groom. That ranges and it depends on the day. And just kind of how many shots we can get. Because yeah, you can overshoot. So I do try to tone it down a little bit if I can. So for example, right now in my couples portrait section, I have 141 photos, but like this right here is gonna get culled down. Like I don't need 15 photos of like the exact same thing. So I do provide a little change in there for some like emotion, but like these are basically the same. This right here and this photo right here, and I was just like culling, so I didn't really know. So like I'm gonna cull that down. But let's see. So the last wedding I delivered was this one here in the mountains, and I delivered 143 couple portraits. And I had a lot of time during this day to shoot their portraits because it like rained, and we shot a little bit in the rain, and we shot their solos, and we had some time, and we were waiting for the ceremony because this bride and groom were dope. They actually pushed back their ceremony and did their cocktail hour for 2 hours, or they did it twice basically, just so they could wait for it to stop raining to have their ceremony. So yeah, we shot that stuff. We did some more after the ceremony. We did some more during reception. So yeah, they got a lot of pictures. So it depends. Then you have other couples that get like a handful. It really depends on the day. Yeah, like this day, this was an elopement, so I had all the time in the world as well. So they got 111 photos. Okay, cool. Find them around 100 or so if they do a first look. Yep. Yeah. If they do a first look and you also get them out during this cocktail hour and then also during the reception a little bit, yeah, I feel like 100's not crazy. This one probably would get culled down to about 100 as well. Well, that's a really good stopping place for me. So I'm gonna end off the stream. Thank you all for hanging out. Hope y'all learned a little bit of something. Hope I answered your questions well. And if you haven't subscribed already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and shoot me out. Shoot me out to other people that might be interested. I know some of y'all are saying you started with Fuji after seeing my stuff, so that's really awesome. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. Thanks D-Nice for coming through. Thanks for the follow, and I will catch you all next time. All right.